Hi, I'm Scott with Western Star Trucks North Limited here in Atchison, Alberta. I'm with tech support, and today we're going to talk about how to properly idle an electronic diesel engine. So this is going to apply both to Cummins and Detroit engines. This one happens to be a Detroit engine, and we have in this truck two ways to idle up the truck. So first off, we don't want to idle engines. We don't need to idle them like we did with mechanical engines, because we have electronics to understand what the coolant temperature is, so that we don't score a liner. So old mechanical engines, if we were in -20 weather, we'd start them, take off down the road with a big load, we could score a liner, because the fuel pump does not know that we have a cold coolant water around the liner, where as an electronic engine, it's measuring that. So we don't need to do the hour-long idle ups that we used to. Well, let's say you're parked for the night and it's -30, and you don't have an APU or some sort of auxiliary heater. You're going to have to idle the truck. So the proper way would be to, on the steering wheel here, set the cruise to on. My ICU shows that I've got it enabled. Just hold that accelerator button or the resume, and you can see I get 900 RPM, and that's all I get. The reason in a Detroit we want to do that is it leaves a parameter called auto elevate enabled, and while a diesel engine idles, it doesn't matter who makes them, is when the air is cold, even on a warmer day, but it doesn't burn all the fuel. And because we have after treatment that we use fuel to create heat to do a regeneration, we can have that fuel sit in the DOC. So the job of the DOC is to create heat. So where the issue lies is, for the chemical reaction to happen, the DOC needs to be at 534 degrees. And at idle, we would never get to that temperature. We'd either have to be in a park regen where we're managing through different components to create heat to warm that up, as well as a higher RPM. But going down the road, if we were to idle and not have auto elevate enabled, and I've been idling for a couple hours, I would have a lot of unburnt fuel sitting in the DOC. And when I took off down the road and maybe I'm at maximum weight, it takes nothing to get that DOC up to 534 degrees, where that fuel that is sitting there is going to react and create heat. The issue is it's not controlled by any ECU, because it's just free fuel sitting there, and we could have an over temperature. So that's why we have auto elevate enabled, and we use these switches only for general idling. Now the rules are warm up time, no matter what the temperature are. If you're idling for more than 15 minutes, that's too long. And if you're cooling down for more than 5, that's too long. That's right out of the manuals. So going back to, I'm sleeping in the bunk and I need some heat, this 900 RPM should be enough. Now, I'm just going to disable this. So we got another switch here called the idle speed switch. Now this is typical only for Detroit. Our dealership installs one of these in every truck, and the reason for it is for PTO mode. So when I hit that switch, I can parameterize this to any setting. So the first setting is 1000 RPM. If I toggle this off and then back on, I get a second setting, and I can have up to 3 settings. So this one happens to have, we can set those to whatever you want. And then I can reduce the speeds just by holding the up and down arrows. This one's not parameterized that way, but that is possible. So the purpose of the high idle switch is actually for PTO operation. So we have another set of parameters that we would turn on if the PTO load was greater than 20%, that it can do a regen while in PTO mode. For this truck, it doesn't have a PTO, so the only advantage of that is to air up a trailer, because you get a little more RPM. That would be the only reason you would use that for. And that's how we idle these trucks.